And he was the darling of the British, and he helped the war, and he spoke at every moment, and he was so effective. He didn't even basically show him. He spoke through the cables, through the radio. His voice was enough to motivate people. Single-handedly got the Second World War. What happened after the war? After the war, things were settled. No Hitler, no bombing. People are settled. Then who should be the Prime Minister of Britain? Here comes Winston Churchill, the man who did all the hard work, risked his life. They looked at him. Hey, who is this? I'm Winston Churchill. Smoking cigarettes always. Alcoholic, getting into trouble with everybody. How can this man become our Prime Minister? What is his background? Look at the character. How can we take him as a Prime Minister? Sad story, isn't it? No, it's not a sad story. That's called strategic management. People who don't know management think it is unfair. Actually, it's not unfair. It's perfectly fair. A person required in one situation may not be required in another situation. Churchill never became the Prime Minister. But nobody would have done what he did during war. So that's called situational leadership. If you feel emotional, if you're not into management, you will think that's unfair. This is a person who risked the life. No, that's fair. Because you have to adjust to the situation, otherwise not relevant. They required a diplomatic person. They wanted a person to shake the hand with the other people and speak softly. Not like Churchill. Churchill was arrogant. Definitely arrogance required to win the war. Mahatma Gandhi, one of the greatest people ever lived. Remarkable personality. Father of India. They call him the father. He is the one who was instrumental in getting the independence to India in 1947. Brilliant strategy, non-violence. Non-violence. He used to sit on the railway line on protesting the British, and the train stopped. He protested against British non-violence. His famous statement, he always mentioned to every British officer who came to attack his people. He said, you can beat us, you can break our bones, you can break our ribs, you can even kill us, but you cannot take our dignity away. You cannot take our dignity away. And British was stunned. From a simple man, a basic lawyer, not charismatic, not extravagant, but with that words, the British were stunned. And he was very successful, remarkable success. But don't forget, what was the situation? The Britain was ruling. The British obviously were in front in terms of the development, in front in terms of the weapons, and also with education as well. There are systems we still use. There's no doubt about that. Colonialism, there are good things and bad things, but they understood the courage, determination, education, and power of this tiny little Indian without any force, able to communicate that language to the British. And British started to provide independence to India. What happened to Gandhi? You would have thought everybody worshipped Gandhi. He was the father. Then, moment the independence given, Muhammad Ali Jinnah broke away with Pakistan. They say it's a conspiracy. We don't know. But what happened then? Gandhi was utterly disappointed. He took the India back, Mother India back from the British colonial rule. What happened? What India did he get? A broken India. So disappointed, he started fasting. He said, we have lived together for centuries, Hindus and Muslims. Why are we fighting? He started fasting. And then Nehru went to see him, and people threw stones at Nehru's car, and they called Gandhi the traitor. Just after 1 week of calling him the father, the greatest Indian, now they call him a traitor. Sad story. Then Gandhi could not bear it anymore. He said, I'm going to walk to Pakistan. I'm going to walk to Pakistan. And he started to walk. He thought, I got independence. And what did I get? A broken India. Moment he started the walk to Pakistan, 2 Hindus worshipped him and shot him. He died. Old Gandhi died. Sad story. The man who was so successful against British failed against your own countrymen. Reason? Situational leadership. a leadership strategy, a leadership style which works in one situation will not work in another situation. British got the message because they could understand. I mean, if Gandhi was sitting on a railway track, if Napoleon was the leader, what would Napoleon say? Quickly put another train and go over his head. That's what Napoleon would have said. So it won't work with Napoleon. It would work with British. So as students, you need to understand this in a given situation. A particular leadership style would work in a small company with few people. You're very informal. You speak to them by the name. They call you by your name. You're working in a large company. That won't work. You need the hierarchy and authority. And sometimes if you're dealing with educated people, you can use a certain leadership. If you're dealing with uneducated people, you have to be very careful. Don't forget Gandhi. And that is what we mean by situational theory of leadership. Then the next theory is basically management style. This is what you need to write in the exam. Management style. A leader who could manage. People like Bill Gates who have done it. Jack Welch, the CEO of General Electric for 20 years. How do you become a CEO for 20 years? Now they are managers. Not only managers, they are leaders. So that's the difference between a manager and a leader. And what do we need in the exam? Normally, examiner will test management style leadership. Because in an organization, you need to manage it somehow. And you need to use common sense. So that's the story of leadership. There are plenty of theories, but my recommendation to use management theories because your examination question is about management. You won't get a question about 14th century China. You won't get a question about China where you need to attack a particular warfare, and no. You get an organization, listed company. Another concept is culture, which distinguish people from others, and that is part of relationship. You see, in a culture question, you need to always respect the culture of the country or the situation. So in the exam question, basically, you need to understand that. You need to really recognize what the culture is and how it works. For example, culture demonstrates the way people think and the way people behave. Hallmark. What is Hallmark? Great company with greeting cards. They came to the market with a wonderful concept. Looking at the busy lifestyle, they gave the verse. So Hallmark cards, you pick the card, it is there in beautiful English written what you want to say to the person. You don't need to write, you don't need to think, you're in a rush, you forgot about a birthday, here's a brilliant wish, you just sign and give. Remarkable, isn't it? Worked excellently in America, worked everywhere. Failed in France. Failed in France. Why did they fail in France? Simple. The French culture is such that you want to be personal. They wanted to write. They wanted to write. So that is an example of culture. You need to respect the given culture of the situation. Like McDonald's India, they don't have the beef burger. Why is that? Because India is a country, majority of Hindus, they don't eat beef. Even Sri Lanka, you have mac rice. You don't see mac rice in many of the countries. Why do they have mac rice? They respect the culture. So fundamentally, enterprise management is all about an organization. As a summary, the most important thing is strategy. Strategy. It demonstrates your decision-making process. Don't forget, when you go to the exam, when you read a scenario, identify what business they are in. Do they have a project? Look at the situation. Who is the project manager? What's your role? What's your role? Are you going to be a leader? Is leadership required or not? What's the culture? Finally, I would like to tell this. People who are successful are not the people who are necessarily the most qualified, or the most brilliant, or the most gifted. The people who are successful in exams and also in real life are the people who can use common sense and who can adopt to the given environment. We were not the most strongest species, they were the dinosaurs. We were the most adaptable species. And that is the whole story. And I want you all to go to the exam with a positive mind. The answer is in the scenario. You read the scenario, you take the data out, you think about what I said, be confident. Whether you study or not, you will be given the scenario. Here's a student who has studied well, here's a student who have not, but both get the same scenario. Analyze it, look at the situation, write a solution based on a practical perspective. You will always pass, and mark my words. Best of luck for the exam.